Hi, I'm Llewellyn, and I am the director and founder of Nova Mentis, and I am on a mission to help you uncover your potential and purpose through self-discovery. At Nova Mentis, we are guided by the logic of science, the depth of spirituality, and the insight of philosophy to craft a unique journey for each individual. Through our thought-provoking quizzes and engaging content, we're dedicated to not just guiding you, but transforming the way you see yourself and the world.
Hi, welcome to the show. If this is your first time here or you are a returning listener or viewer and you haven't done so yet, hit the like and subscribe button down below. Be much appreciated. And of course, if you're very intrigued with regards to what's happening in the startup scene, definitely hit that like and subscribe button down below. And hope you look forward to the show. To kind of start things off, I'd just like to give both of you guys the floor. Introduce yourselves and let the audience know who you are. So, Llewellyn, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. So, hi everyone. My name is Llewellyn Craddock, and I'm the founder and director of Nova Mentis. And the aim of Nova Mentis is to simply help people find purpose and direction. And very happy to unpack that and what that actually means.
And Sam?
Cool, awesome. Yeah, hello, Sam Anderson here. I'm based in Cape Town, and I've joined forces with Llewellyn here to grow Nova Mentis and reach the stars. I'm here to support in growing the business and developing it, expanding our reach and audience. And otherwise I also am a coach. So I have a private practice where I do coaching one-on-one with people, and that's a little bit about me.
So to kick things off, Llewellyn, when we spoke the first time, we spoke about how this idea started for you, where you were in isolation during the pandemic. Can you run us through that journey of you discovering Nova Mentis?
Yeah, of course. So, 2019, I found myself in a new country, completely on my own, and exploring a potential career path in cybersecurity. And what I found when COVID hit around 2020, I had hit new emotional and mental lows that I had never experienced in my life before. Again, being in a tiny apartment in a town called Reading, just outside of London, working from home, I had a lot of time to myself, and a lot of time was spent in my own head. And I wanted to try and figure out what was going on. I was waking up feeling depressed. I was waking up thinking, what on earth what am I doing here? What's the point of all of this? And my dreams got strange. They got really kind of reflective of what was in the past, and I was battling to enjoy what was really happening at the present moment. So I tried to figure that out. I spoke with some psychologists. It was part of a little bit of a benefit of the business I was working with at the time. And the first question that the psychologists asked me was, have you thought about killing yourself? And I thought, goodness gracious, that's your first kind of question, an entry point into just unpacking what might be happening. And while I do understand those kind of questions, it really, really bugged me. And I wanted to try and figure out what was really going on. So I went on my own journey, diving into the great works of things like Carl Jung, Alan Watts, Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, all of these wonderful names out there, and even great philosophies like Taoism, going through the work of Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching, but exploring different perspectives. That was the aim, was to explore what else was out there in terms of purpose and meaning and what we're actually doing in our lives. And what I came across was an incredible amount of awesome material out there, but none of it was personalized, none of it was accessible, none of it was understandable to an individual's personal context. In other words, where am I now? What am I good at? What do I need to improve on? And how can I get there? So that sparked the idea of Nova Mentis. It sparked the idea of building a platform that, in all honesty, I wish I had back then. That's effectively what I aim to do with Nova Mentis, to build a platform that allows an individual to gain context of where they are, where they want to go, and help them along the way with direction, with purpose, using a variety of different frameworks. Things like Ikigai was a great inspiration and is a great inspiration around that. And yeah, I think that's very much the origin of where a lot of this kind of conversation started. The original name of Nova Mentis was actually called Practical Perspectives, and it still holds true to the concept here. It's about sharing these perspectives and helping an individual discover for themselves what is actually out there and discover for themselves what their meaning and purpose in life is. There we go.
So you spoke about going through this journey of discovery, seeking out thinkers. how did you go about translating these abstract philosophical concepts into practical tools within Ikigai? And can you run us through what is this concept about Ikigai and how does that translate into Nova Mentis?
Right. So to set some context, we've recently deployed a beta application called Ikigai. It is inspired by the framework of Ikigai. And for those unfamiliar with Ikigai, Ikigai is a Japanese framework that can be simply translated as a reason for being. There is a little bit of a Western interpretation that includes the intersection of 4 quadrants: what you're good at, what you love doing, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And the idea behind the tool that we've developed called Ikigai, pun intended, I suppose, in this kind of way, is to provide a platform for an individual to answer those 4 questions for themselves and get generated potential ikigais or paths. We call them paths. And the idea is to help an individual discover for themselves what they already know and what their potential could be based off of these kinds of frameworks. So that is how we are leveraging existing ideologies, existing frameworks in a technological and slightly artificial intelligence kind of way to help an individual guide themselves using these kinds of tools that, in all honesty, are designed to be more accessible. Not everyone can afford to have coaching sessions. Not everyone has access to individuals who can help them in this kind of journey. So accessibility is key, and a sense of self-discovery is part of that as well.
So throughout your journey of discovery, was this one of those gradual things that you went through, or was it just one of those sudden realization that I'm lost and I need to discover myself? And how did that shape, or that rediscovery shape your building of Nova Mentis and shape the core values of the company?
Right. So going, I suppose, back to the original question as well, not just around the Ikigai side, but what really inspired a lot of this kind of exploration was honestly open-mindedness, the ability to be optimistic that there is something more out there. There is the kind of growth mindset almost in this kind of way that allows an individual to explore what could potentially be out there and also know that you're not always going to find the answers. You're not always going to find the right thing at the right time. And in fact, what you're looking for 3 months ago is different to what you're looking for today. It changes, it adapts. And this kind of process of discovering ourselves, discovering what we want to do with our lives, it is a gradual thing. And if we're not equipped with the right skills, it's a very difficult journey. And it's something that we often find very difficult navigating if we aren't given the right insight, the right skills and tools to do so. So the best analogy I can provide you talks a little bit around a tea ceremony and an individual who came from the West trying to find out some information from the East and talking to some Zen Buddhist monks. And when a tea ceremony was hosted to host this new Westerner coming and exploring these ideas of the East, they set up a tea ceremony that allowed an individual and this Westerner to engage in, tea ceremonies where they pour cups of tea in a very kind of routine kind of way. The Zen Buddhist monk was filling the cup of the Westerner, and as he's filling his cup, he continues to fill the cup until it overflows. And this particular individual came all the way from the West thinking, I want to know and learn everything. But the problem is that if his cup is too full, because he was saying, stop, the cup is overflowing. And the Zen Buddhist monk simply said, well, in order for me to share anything with you, you have to empty your cup first. And the whole concept behind exploring a little bit more about ourselves is looking at what we have in our own cup and honestly emptying our cup to receive anything new, being open-minded, being open to the possibility that there is more out there than what we already know. So that, I think, is the best analogy I can provide. If we empty our teacups, we can at least get some sort of space, even headspace, to dive ourselves into a little bit more about ourselves and where we want to go.
Yeah, and I guess that offers you an opportunity of learning more than what you currently have. So, Sam, I want to touch on your journey as a coach. What are the key indicators that you see when you're coaching individuals that might indicate that they're kind of lost and that they're seeking out purpose? And how does Nova Mentis kind of specifically address these signs?
Yeah, I think from what I've observed with a couple of my clients and also, collaborating with other coaches, is they're not entirely sure what they need. They feel that they need a coach. but they're not too sure what it's all about. Or on the other side, they can be quite deliberate in what they want to achieve through the coaching intervention. And what I've noticed is there's two parts to that: is we engage and we get to know each other, etc. And this is a little bit of a new space for them, can be feeling a bit vulnerable, etc. And what tends to kind of happen is people can withdraw a little bit because it requires courage to work on yourself. It's not an easy thing, We can certainly make it fun, etc. But, it does come with a bit of that sort of trepidation to it. On the other side of the coin would be coming in with a very clear idea of what you would like to get out of working with a coach. Certainly things like goal setting or, vision statements and things of that nature. And there's not really a problem with that. But what tends to happen, and to Llewellyn's point, is things do change very quickly in our lives. And so we can chart a path forward, but we also do need to have the tools in order to navigate that path, as the road winds and turns and, peaks and troughs along the way. And I think where Nova Mentis is really, kind of addressing those sort of challenges that can come with individuals seeking out support in this way, is it becomes a little bit more accessible. I mean, that's one of the important things that we want to do, is to make it accessible. But also it gives you a chance to actually explore for yourself before ever going and talking to someone else about it. So it's an opportunity for you to get a little, I like to use this term, photograph or snapshot of where you are at this current time in your life, provide you with some guidance and opportunities to explore in your own time. And then have the sort of understanding and point of departure of, I would like to work with someone here to help me go further. And whether that's a coach, a mentor, maybe even a psychologist, it's just really allowing the individual to have their own moment before going sort of into collaborating with someone to help them.
So you spoke about this painting a picture for oneself. You've transitioned your career from working in corporate now to being part of the startup. How has it been for you to take that leap, and what kind of pushed you to kind of take that leap?
Sure. So I suppose I better just do a quick genesis here of how I got to where I am today. But yeah, the long and the short of it is I left school and I was part of the troops who went after, working within their passions. So go work in your passion, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And I went into the music industry. I studied sound engineering with the ambition of working kind of as a music producer kind of thing. And once I left, I realized, well, okay, wait, the world's not ready for this kind of thing, especially in South Africa. What can I do about it? And I tried a bunch of things. And along the way, I got my first office job and I discovered project management. And that really resonated with me, working with people, coordinating big picture views, all these things. And from there, I built a career within project management, project delivery, and product development. Okay, over about 10 years, I think. But along that journey, I noticed it wasn't really fulfilling my desire of proper teamwork and engagement with people. It always was on a bit of a superficial lens that you need to get things done, and that's why we're here. And so through that sparked my curiosity of actually coaching people, whether it was a life coach or some type of business coach or project manager coach. But getting there was hard for me. I wasn't sure how to go about it. And within the project management space, there are obviously a lot of frameworks and tools and methods and all of that stuff. So I thought, well, why don't I have a look at maybe coaching people in that sphere? And sort of my domain of expertise. And that opportunity came a lot faster than I imagined. And I went into agile coaching, working with huge organizations and teams, various teams, and also individual coaching, all the way from sort of the leadership space down to the guys on the ground who are actually doing the work. And through that, I started to observe what's really going on the people level in these organizations. and how people are showing up to work, and also the work culture and the expectation of working late or working on weekends or being available when you're on leave. The out of office says, I'm currently on leave, but if you need me, please WhatsApp me or something like that. And they leave for like 2 weeks. And that really inspired me then to actually go back to how can I do more private one-on-one coaching with individuals. And I started my moonlighting business last year of being a coach. And my kind of sort of vision there was to help you bring purpose to your career. So if you're feeling stuck and lost, or you're just under a lot of pressure, or you want to understand how to manage these stresses that come along with, hard work, I would like to have a chat with you and see what we can do, And then Llewellyn's vision is find purpose and direction. So there was that sort of real synergy there. But what transpired that allowed me to make the leap of faith is that I got assigned onto a project. So I would get assigned to a client, and I would go and sort of coach them around agile and help them become high performing teams, etc. And I got placed at a client where I actually had to do absolutely everything. I was, whatever they needed to be done, I was the guy. I had a great team who also supported me in that. But what I realized was that I have a lot of skills and talents that can be used, in various domains. And I started trying to reconcile being sort of, I don't want to say in a box, but, there are limitations within that environment, working for a big organization. And the path up the ladder was quite clear for me. So it was just a matter of putting in the time and effort. And through that process, I realized, this doesn't really resonate with me at the moment. Because I'm doing a bunch of things that I'm not really supposed to be doing. And I think, being able to see that I did have that spread of skills, I could do it, offer it to the world, really, my time and skills and talents. And if I can help you, I can help you. And that process turned into a little bit of a catalyst for me, because Llewellyn and I had reconnected during that time, and we started the conversation around, where you wanted to take Nova Mentis. And my philosophy was quite simple. It was, I want to work with people, not for people. And Llewellyn, was happy to give me a chance to try and support his vision. And then I jumped in both feet first, started on the 1st of February. So it's only our first month. Quite a radical journey so far, but very fruitful already in this short period of time.
And both of you have this worldwide perspective, both of being able to have traveled. How have you applied those encounters, those lessons in other places, and reapplied it to the local context in terms of looking at South Africa from the lessons that you've taken outside of South Africa?
Ooh. One of my most favorite sayings, the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it.
Feeling that. But to Llewellyn's point there about, the grass is greener where you water it, or if you water it. And I did a lot of traveling through Africa, I think in 2023. I think I went to about 5 countries, working as an agile coach. And I've done other traveling, of course, but what I can say is there's absolutely nowhere like South Africa, and there's nowhere that has people like we have people. It's quite actually incredible what we have in this country and the potential that we have, And for me, kind of bringing that into the context locally was very much around, not everyone has the opportunities that a lot of other countries have in terms of being able to engage and get some type of guidance and about what are the opportunities out there for you, not just within the constraints or the framework of the workforce and, the small to medium enterprises and large organizations that can give you what you need to live a fulfilling life. And I think the more we encourage our fellow South Africans to embrace the opportunities we do have here, I think we're on the path to do something quite special. So that's just
that's true. So both of you started this startup journey as founders, and with a startup, it's one of those things where every day is different. How have you gone through the psychological challenges moving from a structured corporate environment to one where every day is fluid, every day is unpredictable. How have you managed that aspect of being within a startup or building a startup as well?
So something that, to give a little bit of context, I've started Nova Mentis just about over a year ago. The original idea about a year and a half started to start develop. But over the last year, if there's one thing that I've learned going through the process of building a startup, building a completely new business from the ground up, is it doesn't make sense to develop an incredible map of where you want to be in the next few months. It's better to rather focus on your compass. What is going to guide your next direction, your next move? Because things change drastically, super drastically. One week you're working on another thing, and the other week you're working on something completely different. And the business has changed and revamped, I think maybe 7, 8 times over this course of this year. You're not going to find your niche, your avenue, your branding, feel, look, whatever it may be straight away. It takes time. It takes time. It takes iteration, but it is worth keeping an open mind about what people are receptive to. So being able to engage with that, being able to work with that and use that as a process to help, again, as a compass, guide what you want to do, it can help you prioritize what you need to build, what you need to engage on, who you need to speak to, and honestly, which are the side quests. Side quests and main quests, you've got to distinguish. You have to distinguish. If you're too distracted, trying to do anything and everything. And this is what a startup does. A startup is trying to do so much. The better that you can, or the quicker that you can niche down into a very particular product market fit, business approach, whatever it may be, that is working, that is relatable, that is understandable, the quicker you can get to that, the easier it's going to be. And this is, for one example here, we're building in Nova Mentis, we've got a B2C offering, which is very much around the Ikigai concepts and some of the scorecards we do. And we've also got a B2B offering. Now, in the B2B offering, we build scorecards for customers to help them with their lead qualification process. Now, why I'm bringing this up is we're still trying to figure out this B2C aspect, because we started it about a year ago. The idea might have been a number of years coming, but to actually sit down, develop, build it, reiterate, and build on the concept, it's taken a good almost year and a half to actually get to the stage where we've got something tangible. SkillForge, the B2B offering, on the other hand, was quite a success right from the start, because I had done something similar for 3-4 years before. I wasn't reinventing the wheel. So as much as we like to reinvent the wheel as startups, sometimes referencing what you know works and using that in a way as to help guide that particular direction that you're going. Obviously, take the unique path, take the unique approach, whatever it may be. But we often think about reinventing the wheel too much and not actually building the wheel. So that's maybe the biggest lesson I've learned over the last year, having done this. But it is a beautiful, fruitful process, because maybe to speak a little bit about earlier about finding ikigais and purpose and direction, I think I found my ikigai helping people find theirs. And it's been able to explore that concept within your own startup to see whether that, what you're doing is aligning with what you're good at, what you really love doing, what you think the world needs, or what global problems and local challenges you're trying to solve, and whether you can actually get paid for it. You have to kind of answer all 4 of those questions with what you're doing. Then your compass is set.
You touched on SkillForge and how it empowers businesses to create these customized scorecards. Can you illustrate how this works in a real example, and how does it actually help improve an organization's daily operation?
Right. So some small context. I used to be a pre-sales engineer, or a solution engineer was my previous title, in a cybersecurity business. Now, this meant that I had the technical know-how of the product, but I needed to sell the product to the customer. I worked with a lot of account managers, a lot of cold callers and sellers, let's say. And the biggest challenge that I found was an incredible discrepancy between the technical knowledge of the qualification that was done right at the start and what I needed to actually demo, what I needed to sell to the customer. The number of times I've had to redo my demo, re-approach the whole qualification and technical qualification process, it was almost every time. Now, not everyone is technical. Not everyone knows everything about the products. And the concept around the scorecard was born as a result of this, because it meant that what if we were to enable individuals who maybe aren't technically inclined or don't know the products fully to condense all of the wonderful brains of what this product does and how it does it into the form of a very quick scorecard. Going back to Sam's point, we get a snapshot. We get a snapshot of where a business is, where an individual is, and what a business or whichever business we're building a scorecard for can do for them. So it's a B2B offering. We approach a business, and I'll explain a few examples if you'd like. But the idea is to build a scorecard that reflects what that business offers, products, services, whatever it may be, and any responder that goes through the scorecard with their own branding and everything else that's aligned with that business. Any responder that goes through it not only has an indication of what they're good at, but what areas they can improve on and what that business can do for them. So it's about lead qualification. It's about automating that process, and honestly about giving value both to the individual that's going through the scorecard and to the individual that's hosting it, or the business that's hosting it. So that's the kind of premise and idea. It means that an individual in any type of business has the ability to understand where their customer is and enhance their conversation with them and how best they can help them. Sam was one of my first customers of Scorecard.
Was I not actually the first customer?
Yes, you were the first customer.
And Sam, what was that experience for you? What was that experience for you, going through the process of using Skillforge?
Well, sure. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, we wouldn't be here today without it. Llewellyn and I think this is important. Actually, we met on LinkedIn. So Llewellyn and I started our LinkedIn crusades to try and get people to pay attention to us. He sent, I just resonated with how he contacted me. We got into a call. I liked what he was selling. I bought it, and then I tried to sell it to other people for him. So it was very cool. But I think the two things that struck me with that kind of thing was, just Llewellyn as a person and professional, and how he kind of came forward and spoke to me and explained very clearly how he was doing things and the excitement around it. And the other part was just really the potential that this kind of a tool can offer. Certainly being quite niche in South Africa, we aren't too aware of others trying to do it. And it was the way that Llewellyn kind of took me through it was to look at it as a means to a specific outcome, and the creativity and sort of versatility that the tool had. So it wasn't always going to be a cookie cutter scenario. It could really chat and design together and explore, test, and then see where it goes from that. And from a coaching perspective, we developed a personal growth scorecard that you can do on my website. And that's twofold for me to get a snapshot of a potential client on where they are in goal setting and self-awareness and things like that, and resilience, but also for the individual to instantly get some value and go, I didn't realize maybe I need to think about my values and goals a little bit more. And then, they can continue on their way. So, that was kind of the introduction and where the friendship and excitement of collaborating came through, because we both ideas men and we get excited. Just from a simple product like a scorecard, it just opened up so many doors and inspirations for us to chat about different things and come up with other opportunities, etc.
And you spoke about, Llewellyn, the art of selling your idea. So you could have the startup idea, but you need to know how to sell it. Can you guys go through how you go about selling this idea?
Hustle. Straight up hustling.
Yeah, it takes an interesting mix of largely a lot of effort initially to really get it out there and get individuals interested. But you've also got to get that feedback. You've got to get whether what you're selling resonates and actually connects with people, hits that kind of pain point that you're trying to solve. Unless we're saving time, saving money, improving processes, or automating things, it's got to resonate with an individual with that outcome. And let's say, for example, for a business that then has a whole bunch of products to sell, maybe like an IT organization, they've got a whole bunch of technical products. They've got all of these things to sell. Where on earth does a customer start? Do they start with a cold caller who's now just trying to get them interested but has no idea what the products are? Or we're then going down the line of then engaging with an individual who finally knows what the products are, but only knows one or two of them and doesn't really actually ask the questions around some other needs that a customer might need. So it's about engaging, at least initially, a little bit of that hard graft, send out those LinkedIns, see who engages, who bites, who's interested in what you're doing, and let that organically grow. Let that build, let those connections grow, let those referrals start going as well. But you have to be authentic. You have to. There is an incredible mistrust out there for many individuals because we're spammed. We're overwhelmed with information, everyone in this world. We're getting emails left, right, and center that are unsolicited. So you have to be authentic. You have to connect to that individual, be present in that. And weirdly enough, the tactic that I used, which seemed to have worked, is don't sell initially. Don't go punting saying, buy this, buy this, buy this. Rather speak with the individual to understand what they do. Get interested in how their world is or what they're getting up to. And through organic conversation, you say, oh, well, this is what we do. Oh, that's very interesting. I would like to know a bit more. People will immediately put up the defense walls as the moment that you try and sell them something in kind of an unsolicited way. So this is probably the best idea and lesson that I've learned. Engage with an individual as a person, not as a client. As a person, are you interested in what they're doing? Are you interested in them as a person? Engage, talk, have a virtual coffee, whatever it may be. Let that conversation then organically grow. Who knows? Maybe they know someone who might be interested in what you're doing. But the point is that the moment that you can engage on those individuals and say, hey, I'm curious to know, I saw your profile. We've got mutual connections. Keen to connect. What are you up to? Let's chat. Literally starting that and get those authentic connections going first. That's probably the best advice I can give, I think.
And in that sense, you talking about this building relationships, building communities. How do you go about with regards to applying strategies, cultivating the sense of belonging, shared growth? How do you go about building that within Nova Mentis, where you create this mental aptitude of, oh, this is who you are. This is the community you need to be part of. This will get you to be part of that community that you're seeking.
Yes. So what's not only important is the tools we provide, but the community that we can create around it. And the best thing to reference is relatability. The moment that you can find yourself talking the same thing and asking the same questions, sometimes even an absolute route. What am I doing here? What's the point of all of this? Why am I here? Where's my next step? All of these kinds of questions can really start to help an individual not only discover for themselves that they're not alone, but at the same time, you're like, whoa, okay, there's a couple of other people battling with this. Let's engage, let's talk, let's figure out, let's socialize, whatever it may be. The community aspect is something that we are trying to build. There is definitely going to be an aspect around this. We see the importance of having community, especially around the topic of purpose and direction. That is aimed around the tools we provide, the insight an individual can get, and maybe even going back down to the idea of practical perspectives, what other people have learned, what other people have gone through, and what they can share with the rest of the community.
Yeah, so I think, Llewellyn and I have chatted about this quite a lot, and we're chatting to quite a few other individuals about the sense of community and the lack of community. So, what I'm aware of is, there's some really rich communities in our country, but those are usually in the outlier places, and life's certainly a lot tougher out there. But in the sort of closer to the city, a suburban place, communities is not as rich. But in terms of that concept is, when we show genuine interest and intentionally want to learn about someone else, and that gets reciprocated, then we have quite a nice fertile ground for something to happen from there. And it doesn't always have to be transactional. I think to Llewellyn's point there of, wait, what do you want from me? What are you going to sell me? And all you're saying is just want to grab a coffee really, but, nothing more. And sometimes, sometimes it becomes a friendship. Sometimes it becomes a partnership to make money and work together. But it really just starts expanding this idea of communicating authentically with each other, and being intentional about what we're doing. And I think what I'm seeing, and certainly as I've started, full-time with Nova Mentis, is that there's a lot of people who also like to work that way. They also want to have a conversation. They also want to know what is it that you actually do, and so on and so forth. So I think from what I'm trying to achieve from a, sort of a private coaching perspective, is just really inspiring, my clients to have conversation, to be open to other ideas, and also, in terms of being able to create a community within the coaching world. Because there are pockets of community that I've seen in the coaching world, and I mean I've only really been looking into that properly for the last year or so. But it's very much to inspire that we need to have our spaces together, and spend time together. There's so much fatigue with this online gig, and I explained it to a team I was working with last year. It's like you don't walk around the office like this, And then it's like, Sam, I can't see you. Can you just move your hand from your mouth? I can't hear you either, Because that's what happens online. We switch our cameras off, we go on mute, and who knows what people are doing with that. That is a culture problem, right? That is a culture. It's not always on the individual's preference, so to speak. And that's how we start breaking down community engagement. Is not by being present and aware and engaging. So I think that's kind of where the alignment and ambitions come from.
Yeah, and entrepreneurship and being a founder, it's such a broad thing. What does success look like for you two? Especially it's during your early stages where you are building, you are changing up the idea, you are seeing what works, you are seeing what market you should go into. How does the overall success of this build thing you're building look like for both of you?
So for me, measurement of success is not monetary. It's not growth related. For me, a measurement of success is if someone can walk away after interacting with one of our applications, using one of our scorecards, talking with us, I don't know, whatever it may be. If they can walk away saying, okay, I've got a better idea of where I am. I've got a better idea of what I can do next. And I know how I'm going to get there. Just even the slightest idea, even if it's a light bulb moment, like, oh, that's something I need to explore. Done. That for me is a measurement of success because it means that someone has connected a few more neural pathways, learned something, gained a perspective, whatever it may be. That to me is what would be a success, at least in the grand scheme of Nova Mentis.
Yeah, I think for me at the moment, because it's still early days, what success looks like for me at the moment and for the foreseeable future is the opportunity to do whatever it is you think is the best thing and to be able to explore, having that freedom. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is that, look, it is just Llewellyn and I at the moment. We don't need to have too many protocols in place. But, it's that sense of there's really no limitation. So, particularly with building tech where things change very quickly, being able to come up with an idea and go and explore it, learn from it, share it, see what we can factor into our own business to make it better kind of thing. So as long as we can keep that culture and that approach of being able to really, I guess, just express yourself, then I think we'll be successful nonetheless.
And Sam, you spoke about your purpose. With people that are going through that feeling of being lost, that feeling of trying to find their purpose, what's that first piece of advice that you would offer to those people? Like, this is how you would kickstart that journey of finding your purpose.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing is to settle the nerves that if you don't know what your purpose is right now, that's not a problem. That kind of thing. Some people, when they hear these things about purpose and direction, they go like, oh my gosh, what's my purpose? I'm just a bean counter at this firm. Shouldn't I be doing something else? So I think it's really just, guiding them on just what that all means to them and how it's perceived in the world. And so they've got the right context. But, it's really up to the client to tell me, what does it mean to them? Why do they feel they don't have purpose and direction at the moment? Because as to Llewellyn's point of that light bulb, sort of quick light bulb moment, is that often it's just a micro shift of the compass to get you going like with proper momentum. It doesn't always have to be a seismic shift. However, sometimes it is very foreign to the individual to think like that, to really apply your mind about what is a purpose that resonates with me. Because, we, from a young age, we have to somehow plan our lives. We've got to choose our subjects so we can get into university, get that good degree, go into the workforce, tra-la-la-la-la, And sometimes only right after all of that do you kind of pause and reflect and go like, wait a minute, what have I just done? Where am I going? So it's really about being able to assist in terms of how to get a perspective of what it really means to find purpose and direction. Because maybe just to conclude here is that, let's say you decide you want to be an engineer and you go off on that road and you've got passion and you've got fierce, and that's what you want to do. And it can be very successful and fulfilling, but not everyone is able to do that. People, we all change and grow and mature in different ways based on different life experiences and contexts of growing up and stuff. And being able to just be able to, in a sense, educate individuals on, it's not all written down and signed off in a blueprint for your life and off you go and all the best,
Yeah.
There's so much more to the story there. And I try and encourage to share stories on that so that we can work together and find something that's a little bit more in line with what brings you joy and things of that nature.
Throughout your personal journey, if you had an opportunity to speak to your younger self, what's that one piece of advice that you'd give yourself?
I'll let Llewellyn go first, yeah.
I think the one piece of advice would be to kind of reiterate to my younger self kind of a few things. One is everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. Two, have self-compassion. You're going through some things, have a little bit of self-compassion on yourself and what you're going through. And three, the answers that you're looking for are not out there. They're actually in here. They're actually within you. And it's not about discovering yourself. It's not about discovering what your life purpose might be. Sometimes it's actually about uncovering it. It already exists. It's already there. There is this innate potential that is already there. And what gets in the way is up here. The rest I would leave to interpretation.
This is why Llewellyn and I work together, because it's all very similar advice, but maybe just a little bit of a slightly different perspective. I think, your sort of early adult life is quite a time, and that's where probably most of the change can come. That is going to require you to pivot or dig deep, And that's not necessarily educational or professional. It's just life in general, and what can happen along the way. And, if I look back at the young Sam, who was very ambitious and driven, a couple of things would have been really around, you will survive. Okay. You're not going to dissolve into a puddle of mud if you can't handle something, you will get through it. And, you learn through that, but also just really the sort of concept around there's no failure, there's only feedback, and keeping
that's a nice way. No failure, no feedback.
Yeah. I'll give a shout out to Dion Groenewald from Action Factory who taught me that. But just my last little nugget at the end there is really about, to Llewellyn's point, is that it is internal rather than the external. And we really are programmed through society to only worry about the external, and it's just really remaining and keeping the connection between, the mind, the heart, and the gut as our energy centers to navigate the world, really, So, yeah.
And the last thing for someone who's on starting their founder journey or has an idea that they're kind of on the fence about kind of kickstarting this journey, what advice would you have for those individuals?
For anyone starting their own journey of foundership or entrepreneurship, experiment. You're not going to land on the first thing straight away and the right thing straight away. Experiment, iterate, have faith, self-belief, all of that kind of wonderful things. There's a saying that my mom keeps telling me and keeps reminding me that I said this at a very young age. But anyway, I'll say it in any case. If you believe in yourself, accidentally, the right things will happen on purpose. And the whole idea is to just hold that. Just keep going. Use that compass. Use that to determine your next direction. Have that kind of faith. And honestly, the more that you are motivated by the impact that you are going to make, hopefully in a positive way, the more that that's going to drive everything that you do. It's going to permeate your mission, your vision, your products, your services, your connections with people. You get that belief right. You get that mission and that vision right. You're A for away.
And Sam?
Yeah, no, very well said there, Llewellyn. And I mean, I suppose if I could just add on top of that, really, I mean, experimentation is so important because it's an opportunity to test, learn, and try again. Okay, so if you're approaching it with that mindset, it is not so overwhelming. And when things don't work out, that you kind of retreat again and think, oh, what have I done here? But also that you've just really got to be flexible. You've got to be flexible. And if you believe in what you're doing and authentically believe in that, and you're able to share it with others, you'll probably find people will also authentically believe in what you're doing. So it's just really, it is very much a journey. There are no silver bullets, in my opinion. It's that having that skin in the game is what's going to keep you moving forward. So when you come in there with that kind of commitment, you're going to make things work. What I would just add as a piece of advice is don't try to do everything yourself. Take a break, pause and reflect regularly. Give yourself that time just to look back at maybe a couple of weeks, a month. And it's really, it's a wonderful idea to be a businessman in a startup. But there's a lot that comes along with that reality, and you've just got to be resilient.
And the last thing, where would people, if you wanted to find you guys, where do they go? Where do they go and find you guys?
Cork Bay.
Main place, you can find us in the yellow pages. We're published there. I'm kidding. We've got a website, nova-mentis.com. Nova-mentis.com houses pretty much everything that we do, from our scorecards, from Ikigai, from our services that we offer on SkillForge. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And engaging with individuals where we can. Our biggest presence is in LinkedIn. You'll find us there, but definitely follow. We're always posting updates there, and the websites and links and all of that kind of jazz. But best place to find that is those.
Okay. Well, that is it from us. And look forward to the next episode of From Garage to Growth.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.